All right, we are here with another episode of Startup Stories, where we get to peek behind the curtain on some exciting startups, hear about their journey, how they took that step into the unknown, and maybe even a little bit of tidbits that you can't find on the internet. And today I'm super excited to be here with Kacper Nowicki. He's the CEO and co-founder of Nomagic. Welcome, Kacper.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, Emily.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and wish that we were maybe in person somewhere in a cozy cafe, but this will have to do for now, I guess.
Exactly.
And just for full transparency, we do need to put something on the table that this is the first chat we've had with a co-founder that actually came from Google previously. So we call you a Zugler. How does it feel to be back chatting with Google again after a few years away?
I've spent many years together with Google, and it's a company that's close to my heart. I use the products every day, so it's nice to talk a person on the other side as well.
Great. Well, we're very proud to also hear about your success outside of Google. So, in fact, we can celebrate a 2020 seed round closing that you had with Nomagic, which was one of the largest for a Polish startup. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. How has it been since this seed round? How has the visibility and the pressure been for you in the last years?
The starting a company is an adventure, and as every adventure, you get great moments and you get difficult moments. So I think that the pressure is um, part of the journey when you're responsible for people, you have an idea how to build a new product, and you try to make all of this work. It's always easier when you have money from the investors to build your idea. And, we've been really lucky to be in this position. Um, and I think, we put the money to a good use. We'll probably need to fundraise soon again. So that's, that's the part of the startup journey until you're profitable.
Great. Well, let's dig into that even more as we go. Before we get started, why don't you give us a little bit of an elevator pitch for Nomagic? So tell the audience what you and your company are doing.
Yes. So what we do is we build AI and software, integrate this with industrial robots that we buy on the market. We integrate components and deliver this to our customers. Customers are usually e-commerce companies that sell online, but they need to deliver real products. And our robots work in the warehouses, helping with the fulfillment of these orders. So if you buy something online, there is some chance that Nomagic robot help to pack your package.
So for your case, perhaps the corona pandemic has been a positive change with so many people ordering things online nowadays.
Yes, I think our customers are doing well, and e-commerce is doing very well. Our habits as consumers are changing, so this is definitely helping. But there are also things that make our life more difficult, like for all of us. One example being is that our customers are abroad frequently. We need to travel, fly to them, and travel has been crazy at times, and we see some of this happening right now with Omicron again. So we need to find ways how to operate in these conditions.
Yeah, we're not out of it yet, unfortunately.
Yes.
I think a lot of people would be really interested to hear more about the robotics piece behind what you've been doing. So maybe you could take us through a little bit how the idea came to be and how you got connected into machine learning and robotics in the first place.
Yeah, so I've been following the rise of AI, and I was at Google when Google acquired DeepMind, and on one end, the technology seemed really fascinating, something where you can build intuition and not just strict rules, something that acts on something like a image or audio stream and does something sensible with this information. And on the other hand, I was working on the infrastructure at Google, and I wasn't really, I didn't see an application that would get me excited. And then I read a paper from Google Brain, the research part of Google, where Sergey Levin took 14 robots, and they were initially randomly trying to pick items from kind of boxes, trays of everyday items. And they were training a neural network that would tell the robot where to pick. After several months of training, one of these robots was able to pick 30 items that the system haven't seen ever before in 31 attempts. And to me, this was really significant, like a breakthrough moment. Thinking, wow, so we can now teach a little bit like you teach kids, right? Teach robots how to operate in real world, which is fairly unstructured, and there's noisy information. There's just an image from the camera that the robot is looking at. So that started kind of my interest and a journey, which ended up in starting the company.
Yeah, great that you were inspired by some of this research, but it wasn't the first company that you founded after Google, right?
Yes, that's correct. So many years ago, I had an adventure of living and working in the US, and some of this time I spent in Silicon Valley. And together with a few friends, other immigrants, we started a company that was in a very different area, the kind of file storage business that was funded by good venture capitalists in Silicon Valley. That was happening during the dot-com boom. Amazing times, lots of money, everybody got investments and so on. Unfortunately, the company went down during the dot-com bust a few years later. But I promised myself to do another startup because the journey from an idea and just a few people to a company and product is very, very interesting and very challenging as well.
Well, you were not alone in that time. So I think a lot of founders learned great lessons then, which maybe we're seeing in other exciting companies today.
Yes, I promised myself to avoid the mistakes that we experienced during the first startup.
Yeah. How did you maintain that willingness to found again, that resilience?
I think that's this is. I didn't need to maintain anything. Sorry to say this. It's I had I've been always thinking in the background on what should I do next. Like what would be a good idea to start a company, come early into some space in which you can build something very new. And my history has been linked to the early days of internet. I've started first Polish web server in 1992, so long, long time ago, and then worked on many internet systems. And I think this switch to robotics, to me, this is an kind of a change of times that systems interacting with the real world will be the next wave. We've done so many things that happen behind the screen, right? And to some extent, this is slightly less exciting. On the other hand, the self-driving cars or the robots that can help people, those things seem that there is a great potential.
Yeah, emerging market, disruptive technology, but also very practical applications.
Yes.
Uh, Great. Well, so now that Nomagic was founded, or actually tell us about the founding story itself. So you got inspired by some research, and how did you actually start the company this time around?
Yes. So I knew nothing about robotics. I don't have any robotics background. And I was looking for people that would help me understand what it would be to build a system like this on both the AI side and the robotics. I was super lucky to find my co-founder, Marek Zygan, who was programmer and competitive programmer for many years, a researcher at the university. But he also, he was interested in machine learning, participated in Kaggle competitions, won a couple of those. And, I found him through who would be people near me in Warsaw who actually, know something about the machine learning, and what the better way to find than find winners of the contests, international contests. So that was part of the process of building the team. Another part was trying to find people interested in robotics, and I made some visits to the university in Warsaw and talked to some people there. I also flew for a day to a conference of students that were building Martian rovers. And in Poland, there's fairly good competition among the student teams from the universities to participate in these contests. And this actually, one of our early employees came from one of these robotics teams. So, that's how we started to build a team and learn.
Yeah, you found a pool of like-minded people. And I'm sure that that helps at the beginning. Everyone kind of inspires each other and then helps speed things along.
Yes, and people who are kind of crazy enough to jump into unknown.
Yeah, that's a special character. It also sounds like from the development of your company that you continue to foster this kind of curiosity and craziness by giving all of your employees a growth guide. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So this is a really interesting case where we try to try new things. So one of our rules is to run experiments, and if people don't know what's good, what's next, in some companies or in some environments, you'll have a long argument on what is better. We try to avoid this, and we try to say, okay, let's try something for a quarter or maybe a month or maybe a week. And we've been thinking how to structure our teams inside Nomagic, and should we have Google style a manager and a few employees in kind of a small team? Someone brought to us an idea that perhaps we can run the organization very differently, where there's one manager, people manager for a lot of people, but there will be some type of a self-help between employees, right? Where they would help each other with personal development and professional development. And this is how we came to the idea of growth guides, and we ran an experiment where everybody would have a growth guide. We would help people assign, and it continued for 2 quarters, and then, as with every experiment, we measured the result. And there are good things and bad things, so positive and negative coming out of this experiment. So a lot of people like growth guides, like to have this peer-to-peer relationship where you say what you would like to develop on, and someone who does this very well helps you. And this worked for a good number of people. And then we discovered that having a people manager, someone who is more experienced and feels responsible for your development and helps you also through these more difficult situations where you need to provide not only positive feedback, but also negative feedback or feedback on something that you should improve, that this is necessary. And today we have growth guides, but we don't have one manager for 20 or 30 people, but we have slightly more traditional model where managers have fewer direct reports.
Or a hybrid model, if you will. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a next generation. It's an improvement, right? Like we tried something, part of it didn't work, part did, and now we have the hybrid model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Also, I'm people manager helps to build the trust in the team and to help, like you said, get you through some maybe difficult parts that didn't work as expected. Um, so definitely, I think a fundamental piece probably for startups to be so innovative is to have that trust in the team.
That's the only way to win with Google is to iterate faster.
Yeah.
Sorry for saying.
And the only way to iterate faster.
Well, it's try a lot of things and be in a startup and kind of see what works, right? And be open-minded about other people's ideas. Yes.
And thinking about trust from the team, how are you also applying that in the robotics area, since there's sometimes distrust of AI?
I guess you're trying to bring a picture of Terminator running down the street with the red eyes and trying to give us hard time, human race. I think it's a very interesting question and a very interesting problem where, on one end, there is this idea of singularity, a very independent machines that could run away from our control. And the second perspective is very different. That I think we all benefit from washing machines and dishwashers at home, right? Like there are some types of machines that help us. And today, what we're building perhaps smarter machine than a washing machine, but it still helps us in a warehouse in a very repetitive environment, right? Where you need to pick something and maybe scan a barcode and place somewhere else. And this needs to be done 8 hours a day, or it really needs to be done for, sometimes 16 hours, sometimes 23 hours a day. And I think it's good to automate, these tasks, right? So our robots, and you should see there's some videos on our website, nomagic.ai. Our robots are stationary and they're very well prepared to pick e-commerce items that you may order online, fashion or electronics, right? Like it's really far from these machines to run around with red eyes on the street.
Yeah, I think some of this application of machine learning and robotics is really behind the scenes too. So people don't even know that they're benefiting from the value of this technology as it
Yeah.
evolves.
And I think, maybe stopping on the topic of AI, right? Like I think this ability to build today deep neural networks, but perhaps there is going to be some improvement to this technology to solve problems in fundamentally different way, where the systems learn. They're not instructed super precisely what to do in what case, but they learn some types of intuitions. It's a fundamentally new way of solving problems and something that opens doors to new applications. In our domains, in our domain, robots have been built for the last, I don't know, 70 years, right? And they've been doing quite productive but not super exciting things, right? Like they help to weld cars. But today, using AI, we can expand the field of application of the robots, and I think this is actually very good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So it's really just the next evolution. Are you also using AI and machine learning in the daily business of No Magic? So to automate any of your team's tasks?
No, I think we're focusing for on the robots that the way they operate is that they have cameras and frequently 3D cameras. They look at the world around them and make decisions based on this, right? And I think this is fundamentally how we operate, and this is fundamentally how you can improve these systems. It's challenging enough that in everyday life inside the company we rely on traditional systems.
Okay. In those systems internally, so building actually the tech behind your product, maybe what was your best tip that you can share there, the best decision that you made to help your team grow and scale?
So what I already told about experimenting, this is the way of working. This is one of our company values, which says improve by experimenting. So define some type of a hypothesis, try to get an answer, measure the result, make a decision whether it worked or it didn't work, and then move on. That's probably one of the important ways that how we build product in these really fast iterations. That's one. The second one, and kind of a funny comparison to my startup 20 years ago, is that the level of pain coming from the infrastructure is much lower today. So starting a company with the online tools for collaboration, with the public cloud for building systems, really allows the team to focus on the core, right? And in the past, we had to buy servers and buy a license for some email program and install it and do a lot of things that today are not necessary. So this is really a big acceleration in how we can operate.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And with your perspective, you can appreciate that probably even more than some founders who just say this is how it's always been.
Yes.
So, can you share with us maybe some milestones that you see ahead of yourself for No Magic? So you mentioned already actually another funding round.
Yes. So, in the last, let's say in the last year, this is the end of 2021. We spent a lot of time with a couple of customers for whom we're perfecting how our robots operate. What robots do is, on one end, it's very simple. You can show a 30-second video and you have a good idea. And on the other end, it's very complex because the happy path, when everything works well, the operations of the system are fairly simple. But then there are other cases when something happens, like a robot picks an item and the item drops, and it's a physical world, so it sometimes happens. And now what do you do, right? Like this is where we spend a lot of our time. And I think, at these customers, these robots work very well right now. So we're in the next month both expanding, offering more robots to the same customers, and also acquiring new customers. And that's where we're very focused right now to be able to build and deliver these robots faster.
How about any supply chain issues from COVID as well? How are you handling those road bumps?
Yes, this is actually a really difficult problem. As I mentioned, even though most of our intellectual property is in AI and software, but then we buy hardware and integrate all of this, deliver the whole station to the customer. And we were just making orders for things that have a long lead time. Last week, so that we have it according to our plan next year, as we'll be delivering these robots. And some things that were available in something like 4 to 6 weeks, they're now available in 12 weeks or more, right? So that really requires good planning and some cash to be able to hold the stock.
Yeah, extra challenges for you. So also we wanted to hear maybe a few things that we can't see in a video on your website. So do you have some behind the scenes looks that you can share?
Yeah, so I think it's the official videos, they're usually focused on when robots work correctly, and then we have our private cases of robots having trouble handling some type of things, and they're probably better expressed in a video than me describing it. But one of the things that we encountered at one of the customers were there's a box full of items and we need to pick a single item, and that is mostly easy. But we had a case where these items were magnetic, right? So one was stuck to the other, even though we were trying to pick one, we were picking more than one item. And when our engineers see this, they first laugh and then they're very annoyed that we somehow have to solve this problem. And we have ways of at least identifying that this happened. And then we have the ways to try to avoid presenting such a challenging item in front of the robot in the future. Right? This is something that requires, I think, the next generation of problem solving in that area.
Well, I can only encourage you to maybe make a blooper reel of the the fails and make that public.
Good idea.
Great. Well, any last words to share with our audience about some tips that you wish you had known on your founder's journey over the years?
Yes. I think perhaps two perspectives. One is that, at least to me, it's super important to have good co-founders and partners for this journey. So as I said, Marek Cygan is one of my co-founders, and Tristan Dorjeval is another. And between three of us, it's really helpful to help each other. We go through ups and downs as a company, and we react differently to these ups and downs. And having other people who help each other in these situations is extremely good. And also, we have different perspective at many things. So, we help each other. That's what you hear. But we also disagree with each other a lot, right? And we have a level of trust which allows us to do this in a very strong way, but still, maintaining the trust between us. And I think this is one of the huge things for me going through this journey. And the second thing that's kind of my personal view is that running a company, and you mentioned the stress and the expectations, it's always demanding, and I think that there needs to be space for time to maintain the energy and relieve the stress and take care of myself and my founders as well, and people need to find, I think, what works for them, right? Like what works for me is sports, and I managed to find some time every week to do what I love to do, and this really helps and helps burn the adrenaline and have a smile on my face.
Uh, Needs to be a priority, definitely. So.
I think so.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Kacper. I know you're very busy and exciting plans for Nomagic in the future. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for this discussion.
Yeah. Looking forward to maybe the next one, and good luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Uh,
See
Ciao.
you. Bye.